In Activity 11, Shadows from Two Lights, students investigate shadows with two light sources and explore ways to create multiple shadows. Students then observe that two light sources can also be used to make shadows disappear. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 11, foam cones, foam discs, flashlights with batteries, and a light source with a bulb. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 11 for each student. Set up the room so that it can be darkened as much as possible. Plug in the light source with the light bulb and place it on the desk or table in front of a flat wall. The wall surface should be suitable for casting a shadow. Each team of 4 will need a foam cone, a foam disc, and 2 flashlights. To begin the activity, darken the room. Place a foam disc between the light and the wall so that it casts a shadow onto the wall. Ask students, what could we do to make the shadow of the disc disappear? Students may suggest moving the light source so it is directly above the disc. Do not allow the foam disc to touch the bulbs as it will melt if heated. Next, divide the class into teams of 4 and give each team 2 flashlights and either a cone or a disc. Ask teams to use 1 flashlight to make a shadow with their object, and challenge students to use the second flashlight to make the shadow disappear. Ask students, what did you do to make the shadow disappear? Students should have succeeded by making 1 flashlight shine on one side of the object and the other on the other side of the object. Since flashlights vary somewhat in strength, students may have to hold them at slightly different positions or angles. Note that if the flashlight beams differ greatly, the students may not be able to make the shadow disappear. Instruct students to turn off 1 flashlight, keeping the other shining on the object, and then switch in order to show that each flashlight by itself will cause a shadow to be cast. Ask students to make the shadow disappear again, then review how this is possible. Guide students to understand that the first flashlight casts a shadow, but then the second flashlight shines on the area that would be a shadow, making the shadow disappear. Ask students, using 2 flashlights, how many shadows can you make at the same time with 1 object? Tell students to test out their guesses and try to make as many shadows as possible. For instance, by directing the flashlight beams a little farther off the sides of the object and changing the angle slightly, the student should be able to create 2 shadows. Then ask, how many shadows were you able to make? How can you explain this? Students should understand that there are 2 light sources, and each one can make 1 shadow. Next, distribute another object, either a foam cone or a foam disc, to each team of 4, and challenge students to arrange their flashlights and objects so that one object has 1 shadow and the other object has 2 shadows. Give students a chance to demonstrate their results, and challenge them to arrange their flashlights and objects so that one object has 1 shadow and the other object has no shadows. Next, turn the lights back on and give each student a copy of Activity Sheet 11. Instruct students to look at the pictures of flashlights and cones and imagine how the shadows would fall, and then draw a line to the picture on the other side that shows the correct shadow. Allow students to use their flashlights to check what happens if they're not sure. Finally, review students' answers with them. If there is a question about an answer, help students to repeat the setup. To conclude the activity, have the students unplug the light source and return it to the kit along with the flashlights, foam cones, and foam discs. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.